I'll try giving old Norman a bell, the landlord. Maybe he'll come and bail me out. Old Norman. He likes being called Old Norman, that's why I do it. Sycophant that I am. He slings down the vodka, snarls, there you are, get your own fucking ice. Haven't got anything smaller than we all say, good old Norman. Fancies himself as a bit of a character. Most landlords do, have you noticed? And if they're not bits of characters themselves, I know plenty of people who are. One time when I was working as a barman, the publican was one of those dreadful people who call you squire and think of themselves as your genial host. On my first day, he came up to me when I was polishing the Smirnoff bottle and said...
You see that bloke going out? Now, he's a bit of a character.
Oh, yes, Governor. Well, you mustn't keep me from my work.
Yes. Would you believe that man must lose at least 6 umbrellas a year?
I know the shortage of eccentrics is acute these days, but you'd think that a pub landlord of all people could come up with someone slightly more interesting than an umbrella loser. Even I can do better than that. An antique dealer I know who was once voted Rat of the Week by the old Sunday Pictorial. A doctor who's had a cold for 5 years. And an ex-embassy press attaché who now writes the flagellation column for a sleazy magazine, and that's it off the top of my head. Denis Shaw. Does that name mean anything? Now, there was a character. The face that closed 1,000 cinemas. He used to play villains and Gestapo men in those wonderfully awful British B pictures. 20 stone and encrusted in warts. Imagine a toad wearing a dinner jacket, and that was Denis Shaw, or Den Den, as he called himself. Den Den. One night, that dear, sweet man, John Le Mesurier, now there was another character. One night, John Le Mes was walking along Piccadilly when he saw Denis Shaw being bundled into a Black Maria for drunk and disorderly. John Le Mes gave Den Den one of his affable smiles and said,
"Hello, Dennis. Working?"
He must have been drunker and even more disorderly than usual because the police didn't like taking him in very much. As I found once when I tried to get him arrested for being boring. He gate-crashed my table at a restaurant and thoroughly spoiled my dinner by just sitting there being Denis Shaw. Then he got into my taxi and wouldn't get out. So I made the driver take us to Tottenham Court Road police station. Whereupon Den Den bounded into the nick, reappearing a few moments later with 4 policemen and booming...
"Gentlemen, I want you to meet Jeffrey Bernard, the biggest idiot in Soho."
He then flopped down on the pavement and refused to budge, but all the desk sergeant said was...
"We'd rather not rest, Mr. Shaw, sir, if you don't mind. He's a bit difficult in the cells, is he?"
One night, I was out on the piss with Den Den, a rather difficult enterprise considering he was barred from every pub within a 6-mile radius of Charing Cross, and we finished up in the Stork Club where we went through the car, dinner, the full works, a bottle of champagne for me and a bottle of Gordon's gin for Den Den. Now, I've been paying all evening. In any case, a bugger owed me for enough dinners to feed the 5,000, so when the bill came, I refrained from picking it up. So did Den Den. After a while, the waiters started stacking chairs on the tables, and after another while, the cleaners arrived and began vacuuming the floors. But still we sat there finishing Den Den's gin with the bill untouched and unread on the table before us. Finally, the head waiter came over, and even in the cold grey light of dawn, you could see his face turn white as he saw who it was.
"Good morning, Mr. Shaw."
So, you remember me?
"I do indeed, Mr. Shaw."
Tell this gentleman where we last met.
"At the Pigalle, Mr. Shaw, when I was head waiter there."
Under what circumstances did we first become acquainted?
"You refused to pay your bill, Mr. Shaw."
Tell this gentleman what your response was to that.
"I called the police, Mr. Shaw."
Call the bastards again!
He was a collector's item, was Den. And never lost an umbrella in his life.